Welcome back to another episode of Piercing with Scott Live, here where I'm answering all your piercing questions. All you need to do is just give me a real thorough question in the beginning here, and I'll do my best to answer those questions for you. Again, my name is Scott Wilkinson. I've been piercing professionally since 1994, and that's all I pretty much do. I own and operate Piercing Vegas, a piercing-only studio here in Las Vegas. So if you're ever in Vegas, definitely check me out too. And also, behind the camera over there is Jared.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you again.
Jared's going to be asking all your questions as we go through here. And another little heads up, it's Jared's birthday. So make sure you wish him a birthday. Happy birthday, everyone. So awesome. So let's get started here. Let's jump right in and get started with these questions.
Okay. We have a question from Ella. Hello from California. Finding your channel very helpful and informative. The question is do they make L-shaped barbells for floating navel piercings? Don't you think they'd be easier to heal up since they meet the skin at right angles, kind of like a stud versus ring in a new piercing? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I do agree with you. It's not necessarily an L shape. Sometimes you can find J bars is what they're called, where it's more of that. And it basically pulls the gem out towards the front of the belly button. So you're right. It's still going at that right angle perpendicular, but it's called a J bar and they have a little bit of a curve. Now, the problem with these during the healing process is the jewelry can spin and rotate and sometimes come back out. If I've used these in the past, a lot of times I actually use a little O-ring or rubber band on the inside there, not rubber band, but an O-ring just to protect it from going inside. Now, the other option is some people will actually use just a regular curved barbell where they put a disc on the inside. So when it's all the way in, it is sitting nice and flat and it's going at that 90-degree angle. You're absolutely right. And it's called a J-bar if you're looking for one. Pretty awesome. Next question here.
Question from Ice Lucy. Hello, Scott. Is it okay to get a septum piercing if I'm 14? It's kind of a common question. At what age is it okay? Is the law versus like what you do?
Absolutely. It's pretty much about what's legal or right in your area. If your parent is legal or is going to be able to sign for you and it's legal to have them sign for you in that area, totally safe. It's not going to leave a scar. You can hide it right away. They heal nice and quick. For anyone who's getting a piercing that's underage, I like this one probably the best because it heals the fastest and it's not going to leave the scar. It's just whether it's legal in your area.
All right. We have a question from Norway. Hello from Norway.
What's up, Norway?
And how snug should a philtrum be and how do I know if I have the right fit? I downsized for the second time to a 1/4-inch post 2 weeks ago, not a 12-week-old piercing. And it sits in a little pocket on the inside. I have 1 millimeter of clearance when it's pushed out, but it's still a little sore on the inside since the chain. Does that mean it's too tight?
No, it's not too tight. The thing is with most oral piercings, that disc from the Labret is going to create a little bit of a pocket, and every time you tighten it, it's going to go in a little further. So at some point in time, you need to call it quits and say that's going to be short enough. I mean, because you can keep going tighter and tighter until that disc in that ball is completely inside your lips. So there's only a certain amount where you want to go in. And any lip piercing, if you push on it with your lip, push out on it, you're going to be able to get it to stick out. It's never going to be perfectly flush. You can just get it really, really close. And then the other factor you need to remind yourself with is when you're sleeping at night, your head's laying down most likely, there's more blood flow. So your lips and other oral piercings are going to swell a little bit more while you're sleeping, so you won't quite notice it. So you have to have room for that as well. So if it's sore, that's just because that pocket's being created. But if you have to pop it out of your lip, definitely get a longer one in there. But that's totally normal.
So yeah, clarification, a little soreness is okay. Like on my Labret, I get that sometimes. I always feel like it does mean that the bar is a little short. You're saying that a little bit of soreness is kind of on the normal
for
side?
A couple days to maybe a week or so when that pocket is being created, that's normal for it to be a little bit tender. But I mean, if it's like constantly sore all the time, and we're talking about the inside of the lip, not the gums. If your gums are sore, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Fallon asks, what is a realistic nose and helix healing time?
Okay. Helix piercing time, a year. Like under perfect circumstances, probably like 5 or 6 months. That means you're not sleeping on it, it's not being bumped or hit or irritated, all of the above. But generally, most people expect about a year before your helix is pretty well healed up. Nostril piercing, I say about a month to 2 months. That seems to be the average time. The second you catch a towel, you yank on it, get it caught on a shirt, it's months backwards. So as long as you're not getting caught, a month or 2 months.
Sort of related question. I've had my Helix for 3 months and I still have the long Labret in. Is it okay to change to a shorter stud yet?
Yeah, if it's definitely sticking out and it's pretty well healed up for the most part, go ahead and downsize. If you leave the long one in there, it's going to start twisting and migrating, going to a more awkward position where you can't wear the proper jewelry. So downsizing is important.
Thank you to everyone for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it.
Way to go, guys. I knew you had it in you.
All right. Callie Leach says, hi, I got my Smiley piercing 2 weeks ago, and I've got 2 bumps on either side. Is this an issue?
Well, it's not optimum. Bumps do happen once in a while once things are irritated. It depends on what jewelry you have in there. I mean, if the jewelry's way too big or way too small, that can be an issue. If there's a scratch or ding in the jewelry, that can cause an issue. Or if you have a ring in there with no bead and there's just that seam or the gap, that's going to also cause those bumps and irritations to happen. So make sure you have the appropriate jewelry and give it some more time. Hopefully those bumps go down. If not, talk to your piercer.
Zivix asks, what jewelry goes in first for a Doth piercing?
I always start someone out with some sort of a ring, whether it's a captive bead ring or a circular barbell. You have to have those beads to start off with. Some people will pierce you with those clickers, but if you're using a clicker, the one with a hinged ring on there, you got to make sure that each side is much, much larger where that part can't go inside your piercing. You don't want that seam or the gap going inside there. And it has to be slightly oversized for swelling too.
Now that is non-standard, right? Usually you won't pierce with the rings. The Doth is one of the few that you do advocate.
It's the only real exception. I mean, Septum will pierce with circular barbells too, but yeah, most of the time it's studs on everything. But this one, you can't put a curved barbell in there because that curve will turn inwards and cause a lot more bumps and irritation.
All right. Next question from a viewer. We just got our vertical Labret done yesterday.
Congratulations.
And I was too scared to say anything about the size, but I think it's too small. When can I take it out to replace the jewelry? And kind of address that issue. Is it okay to slow things down and tell your piercer if you think something's too big or too small?
Absolutely. Talk to your piercer about that. If you're looking in the mirror, I encourage people to be fully open. Like if you're nervous about it being too long or too short or crooked, let's talk about it now because we can fix this and kind of remedy the situation. There's no reason to heal it up if it's crooked or wrong. If it's too short and you look at your piercer right then and say, hey, I swell a lot. I feel really uncomfortable with this. Can we put a longer bar? It's real easy to be able to put a taper on your piece of jewelry, slide that jewelry out without causing more trauma, and put a different piece in there.
And it looks like we may be talking about the size of the top. That they feel like the actual...
It's not the length.
The top is too small.
Okay.
But I don't know. They could mean too small in terms of the length of the barbell either. But in both cases, speak up.
Hopefully you'll see the jewelry before you actually get pierced with it so you know what's being put inside you. But I generally tell people a minimum of like a 3 millimeter bead is what I say for most oral piercings so those beads don't get sucked in. Sometimes you go smaller in the future, but I don't pierce anything smaller than a 3 millimeter.
And if this was just done yesterday, they're probably still pretty swollen.
Yes.
So it might feel small today, but in fact be fine in a couple days. Is that reasonable?
If it's getting sucked in, definitely go talk to your piercer. That's a problem. That's the main reason why having too small of a bead. But if it's not causing a problem, you shouldn't really mess with it if it's this new.
All right. We have a question from Jalen. I accidentally took out my piercing too fast and it pulled on my skin and made a bump.
Okay. It
won't heal. Should I just take it out? I've had the bump for 2 weeks now. Stick it out a little longer, or do you think is it time?
Did they say what piercing it was?
They did not.
Okay. Some bumps come and go real easily. Sometimes like cartilage and nostril piercing, those bumps can last a long, long time. So you got to be kind of careful with where the bump is. And then did you put the same piece of jewelry back in there? If you put that aftermarket piece of jewelry in there, it's causing a problem. That might, Hi, Jared.
Hi. Oh, well, that's me. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you have the appropriate jewelry and it's not causing a problem, let us know.
All right. Our next question is from Sven. Is a mantis piercing the same as an Austin bar piercing?
I believe the Austin bar piercing is
a nasalang is what it's looking like online.
Is it or is it more of a tip of the nose?
Okay.
Because I think an Austin bar is more the curved barbell through the tip, as opposed to two straight ones going directly in, like with two Labrets. So yeah.
Okay, so they're not exactly the same.
No.
All right. Southern Redneck says, I'm planning on getting my snake bite soon, and I'm really nervous. Are there any tips?
Yes. Don't be nervous. That's my tip. And I know, way easier said than being done. I always tell almost everyone the toughest part of my job is convincing people that they're going to be okay. Okay. It's not as painful as you're expecting. Biting your lip generally hurts way more than the piercing does. So is it scary to go into? Absolutely. Is it normal to be nervous? Absolutely. Bring a good support team, get a good night's sleep, eat a good meal before you go in, and you're going to be just fine. You'll be just fine.
Kim asks, do you remove dermal implants?
Sometimes I do. It kind of depends on where they're at and if they're kind of stuck inside the body. Now, if you took the top off your dermal and if you're talking about a dermal anchor, basically, and the skin grew over the top, then I'm not going to cut you open and basically try to dig it out. That's going to be a trip to the hospital. I don't deal with that at all. But if it's a normal dermal anchor on the top and it needs to be removed, I can remove those.
You do take care of that. Excellent. It's a good service. And I imagine it's something you'd want an advanced piercer for. You didn't just want any
they don't
stuff out
sometimes they don't come out easy. Sometimes they're real easy to kind of manipulate out. So you want to have someone who knows what they're doing on those.
Okay, next question comes from Evan. Hey, I had a Helix piercing migrate quite a bit. My piercer said to take it out and we'll pierce it again when it heals. But looking at it now, there's a big pus pocket on the back. Suggestions. So
you probably just took it out, or you just have it's maybe a harder bump on the inside, on the back there, massaging it. Once that wound has closed up, you want to take some vitamin E oil, Mederma, some sort of scar tissue remover, even olive oil, sometimes not olive oil, but cocoa butter. Just kind of rub that in there and massage it, and you'll be able to break it down. If it's actually a blood blister, something will work itself out, but it sounds like you just took it out. So give it a little time, let it heal up before you actually try to massage or manipulate it, but you will be able to get rid of it. It goes away with time.
All right. Miwok having a similar problem to Callie Leach from earlier with bumps in the septum, saying that there's no oozing or issues or any pain. Are the bumps normal? Should they be worrying about removing them or just kind of letting it go and relaxing?
It kind of depends on how long you've had it. If the piercing hurt really bad when you got it done and they went all through the cartilage, they're more prone to the bumps than not. So that could be a factor. Also, if your jewelry's spinning and rotating, you're constantly pulling crusties through, that means it's being irritated, and that's why the bumps are there as well. So make sure you're keeping your piercing clean. If it's a circular barbell and you can flip it up, sometimes having something flipped up so it can't move around will help it heal a little better too. So
Kayla Smith just got high nostrils pierced.
Congratulations.
The discs inside, unfortunately, are rubbing against her septum.
Yes.
And it hurts.
Yes.
Can we put Vaseline on the area to stop some soreness? Bad idea?
I had a real similar problem when I had mine done. They get real raw on the inside, and over time, I think it built up enough of a callus where it just kind of protected it. I couldn't touch my nose, squeeze it at all. And once the swelling and everything's gone down, I downsized to a shorter post, and it made a world of difference. So after maybe a month and a half, 2 months, you might be able to downsize to the shorter post. You might be able to do I don't know if I would do Vaseline because you don't really want the Vaseline inside that open wound.
Right.
I don't know what the best. And emu oil might be kind of calming and soothing on there if you want to put that on there.
Because it's not even really the surface of the piercing that's hurting. It's
where it's rubbing.
It's getting jammed in.
And you have to have that room for the swelling. There's such a small pocket up there. Some people have a lot more room than others, but it is raw for a while. And once you get past that point, you can downsize. That makes a big, big difference. Speaking of, I said emu oil might be able to be the good option up there. I did order some of this green oil. Someone was talking about this on one of the last episodes, and this is the green alternative for an emu oil. Now I looked at it, and some of the ingredients in here, it's a lot of oils, essential oils, and things like that, which make me kind of nervous about it. I don't have any irritated piercings right now, and I've been trying to talk to people around the shop if they have irritations to try to use this and see what they think of it. I don't have a full opinion of it, but this is another alternative, another possibility. But like I said, it does have essential oils, and it could be causing problems. I'll get back to you at future time when I actually try it out a little bit more. But I just wanted to let you know I did get that, and that is another alternative possibility. And if any of you have used it, let us know in the comments what you think of it. So,
all right. Bethany has a question from the UK.
Sure.
What's your favorite lip piercing? Because she's looking in to get one, can't decide. So just make it as simple as, what's your favorite lip piercing?
Vertical labret. Simple, just a vertical labret in the center. I'm a very symmetrical person when it comes to piercings. It keeps it away from your lips, your teeth, less likely to do damage. And it's just a fun looking piercing. I love the vertical labret.
Random Girl 178 says hello from the Netherlands.
Hi.
I was wondering, can I stretch my conch to fit 2 rings, or is it only possible with a punch, or just by adding another piercing directly below?
No, you can totally stretch cartilage. It just takes a long time. I've had a lot of friends who've actually started from a 14 gauge or even a 12 gauge and stretched all the way past a 0 gauge. So it is possible. It just takes a long, long time. And if you have access to a lot of glass jewelry, they will make in between sizes. So instead of going from like a 2 gauge to or a 4 gauge to a 2 gauge to the 0 gauge, you can jump in between there, and it makes the stretch much, much easier. It takes a while, but you can totally stretch it.
All right. Question from Reiki Warming. I just got my industrial done yesterday, and it's so swollen. I have been at work today wearing a mask for a little over 8 hours straight. Do you have any tips for the swelling to go down?
Okay. Yes. Number one, you said you're wearing a mask. If the mask is rubbing up against your piercing, it's going to be constantly agitating it and causing more swelling. Get a mask extender, something that goes around the back of your neck as opposed to behind your ear, so it won't pull on your piercing. Second thing is ibuprofen, Aleve, Advil, some sort of anti-inflammatory to get the swelling down. And when you get home, maybe soak your ear in some cold water. Just get the overall swelling down as best you can for this next week, and it will be an easier overall healing process for you. But yeah, try to keep the irritation off from that mask. Mask extenders, you can buy them on Amazon. Some people even take a paper clip and you can open it up and clip it on the back of your neck. So there's options.
Just improvise.
Yeah,
just get it off your ear. If it's tugging on your ear, it's messing it up.
Yeah.
All right. It's been 3 months since my cartilage piercing. Can I put a ring in now? They don't hurt when I touch them or hurt when I lay on them.
I'm not an advocate of changing it that soon. You can do whatever you want. I personally would wait a couple more months.
What if they love the channel? Does that change anything?
Sure, go ahead and change it. No, wait, patience. Generally, I tell people 4 to 6 months minimum under perfect circumstances. It may feel healed right now, but that tube of scar tissue is still fairly thin and is easily rippable and cause those bumps and irritations. If you decide to do it and you get the bumps, go right back to that stud.
All right. Is it okay to put chapstick on a fresh vertical labret? Like if you try to keep it away from the exit
In my experience, I've seen a lot of people have problems with chapstick and things like that. I know emu oil makes a lip balm, which it's kind of more of a liquidy. It's not as thick as a chapstick, but it can work for those people who need to use some sort of lip gloss, lip balm, things like that. But listen to your body. I mean, your body will tell you no right away, and I believe chapstick does cause a lot of problems. It's an open wound that all that chapstick stuff you don't want inside.
Get in there, right? Yeah, it just makes sense. It would clog things up in a way that it's not supposed to. Audrey M wants to get large gauge lobe piercings, but has some old 18 gauge lobe piercings that she doesn't like the placement of.
Okay.
So is there any chance those old ones are going to get in the way of the new ones, or can you just kind of ignore them?
Probably not. You can mostly ignore them. We're going to be doing the piercing probably a little bit higher up. Chances are if you don't like the placement, it's down low. Now, if it's a large hole, if like 18 gauge, like the jewelry is tight, it won't be that big of an issue. But if it's a slit, like it's been opened up and it's a bigger hole, once the piercing holes migrate, if you want to go to a larger size, it jumps, and then you're going to get thin spots on your ears. So as long as it's just an 18 gauge hole, it shouldn't be an issue.
Alessandra says, I've gotten pierced at your shop before and I love it.
Thank you.
What other services do you guys do? I want my ears punched, but I don't know any places that do this. Is that something that you guys offer here?
We don't offer that here. I've done them in the past, so I understand what they're all about, but they are technically illegal here, so I won't perform it here in my studio. The punch we're talking about is called a biopsy punch or a dermal punch, where it's like a razor blade in the shape of a circle. And that's kind of how my cartilage was done up top. It's just a large hole, just punch, remove tissue.
And the pros and cons there. So a normal piercing doesn't take any tissue away?
Correct. It makes a crescent incision and pushes that tissue, so there's a lot of pressure and it stops the bleeding. And that's a lot of times why cartilage takes so long to heal up. I know out on the East Coast, a lot of people were using biopsy punches, even at real small sizes, and it allows the cartilage to heal a little faster and a little nicer. I found that these punches healed way faster than a normal Helix piercing.
Because there's no like asymmetrical pressure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But no, nowhere around here that I know of does those.
Because it's technically surgery, right?
Yeah.
So that becomes medical issue.
We don't want to lose our license.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Just do piercings here.
Yep.
All right. Lauren Perez says, went to get my Helix done. Was told by the piercer that I might have trouble stretching my right lobe because of how high up it was pierced. Should I re-pierce my right lobe? I'm currently at a 10.
No, not. What about your left lobe?
Well, I mean, I think we want to do them both equivalently, and we think that there's a problem with the right one. So should we restart from scratch?
That's my question. Is if they're not fully symmetrical and it seems really, really off, and you start stretching, the bigger you go, the more obvious it's going to be. You have way more on the bottom of one side than the other. So if it needs to be re-pierced, that's a good possibility. I don't know. It's really hard to say without seeing it, but you'll still be able to stretch just fine. It's just whether they look symmetrical. That would be my concern.
We have another problem with a nostril bump. I have a stainless steel ring in my 5-month-old nostril piercing, but it keeps getting a bump, and I'm too scared to change it back to a stud. What do I do?
Well, go see a piercer who will change it to the stud for you if you're afraid to do it, because that's how you're going to get rid of your bump. If you've had that bump on there for a while and the ring's it's not getting any better, it's going to go away. So put that stud in there, get rid of the irritation, and maybe in a couple months you can change out to a different style ring. Maybe try a titanium one, something that has a nice, good polish on there and a tighter seam so there's no gaps or irritation caused.
All right. Sabrina says, very excited to get my conch and septum pierced in 10 days. On other YouTube channels, I've seen a comment that a fresh septum piercing should not be flipped up into your nose to heal, as it will affect how the piercing channel heals, meaning a circular barbell won't lay flat or straight when it's flipped back down. Fact or fiction?
I say fiction. The septum itself is a really, really thin mucous membrane. So generally, when I say you're putting a ring in something, you want to have 2/3 of the ring showing, only 1/3 inside. When you're piercing a septum, you probably only have a 1/16 inside of that ring, because there's so little amount that there's not enough curve in there to affect the way it's going to lay. Okay, so therefore, if it's doesn't matter if it hurts going up or down, it's not going to change the angle of the piercing.
So what you're saying is, in your experience, having done thousands and thousands and thousands of septums, you tell people to flip them up into their nose for healing.
Yes.
And that doesn't result in crooked septums.
No. I've been doing this, since 1994, and I've had great results. I've never had, I don't think I'd be doing septum piercings if that was the case.
Right.
People why do keep coming back to me? I do septum piercings every single day, and multiple of them. So, yeah.
So you're saying fiction, that the people that are saying that don't have the experience, that it's a good idea to flip your septum up.
There's been times when certain people didn't have the right anatomy where it didn't flip up there and didn't work. I find it works much, much better. I know a lot of shops also that will pierce with retainers and not even that, and flip those up right away and just leave it until it heals up. So, but I like the least amount of movement. That's why I like it flipped up, and I adjust my jewelry so it works for that too.
Excellent. So a clear answer for you, Sabrina.
Cool.
Next question. If I want to get a double helix, do I get one or both pierced at once?
Generally, if it's 2 on one side, I'm going to say get them both done at the same time. If you're talking 1 on each side, I prefer a side to sleep on, so the healing is a little bit easier.
Makes sense. Be able to sleep on one side a little easier. Carlos given us a very common question. I want to get a nose ring, but do I really have to start with the stud?
I would if I were you. In my experience, whenever I've pierced people with rings in the past, like 90% plus of the time, you're going to get the bump. You're going to have major problems. It's going to double, triple, quadruple the healing time, and it's just not worth it. A lot of people give up on the piercing because of the bump, and it's too much work. Start with the stud. You can be healed up in a month or 2, and then maybe change out to the ring after like 3 to 4 months. Be patient. That's the key here.
We are getting the greatest hits today. Tay asks another very common question. Is self-piercing ever okay?
No. Self-piercing is not okay. Number one, you're not going to get the right angles. It's probably not going to be straight. You're probably not using the right materials where you're introducing metals to your bloodstream where you could be developing allergies to where you couldn't wear belts and snaps and all kinds of other metals and rings on your body. There is the whole disease thing. Are you using an autoclave to properly sterilize your jewelry so you're not introducing hepatitis to your system or any other bloodborne pathogen? The list goes on and on. So is it safe to do? No. People are going to do it, and I don't condone it, but it's not safe to do. It's not okay.
And doesn't result in a beautiful piercing. It's
No.
like you could give yourself a haircut. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? You're most likely going to end up with a worse haircut than if you let someone else do it for you. Mm-hmm. You know, who's a professional and knows how to cut hair.
Yeah. I wonder if beauticians deal with that all the time too. You know, like people like normally I do my own, but you know, I'm coming to you because this one's a trickier one. I get that all the time. And it's like, really? They're not all tricky?
No, this is just the one they needed help with. They had the other stuff down.
Well, it's my tongue, so I need to come to you for this one. Oh, I think you should come to me for all of them. Yeah.
Could you please describe the correct anatomy for an industrial piercing? If only you had like some giant rubber ears.
Oh, I love being able to pull out the ears. Okay, first of all, we're going to start off with the proper anatomy. Proper anatomy, the giant ears, is you're going to have a natural ridge, like on the side of the ear and the front of the ear, where a barbell is going to be able to go across and not press down on any sort of raised bump here in the middle. This is going to sit free floating and go perpendicular from side to side. Sometimes you're going to see an ear like this, where as you can see, this ridge raises up enough to where it almost gets in the way and will press down, causing problems. Now, this has the ridge side to side. This is a good pierce this way, but this is raised up too high in the middle. And the last option, which makes it not pierceable, is when you have no ridge on the side here. You see how it's just kind of flat? This is kind of pierceable. There's not a lot of ridge, but this is perfect for a flat piercing. You know, you can decorate the middle here, but as far as industrial, this is the wrong ear. And there's other shapes too, but this is the basic problems that people have. It's whether there's a ridge on the side and how much is raised up on this part as well.
Now for the second ear, which you said the center is raised up too high, is that something that can be corrected with a custom bent bar by a good piercer?
Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. It kind of depends.
On the person and the ear itself.
Yeah. Now, and then I don't know if you noticed on my last video I put out called Floating Industrials. This ear here would be a good candidate for a floating industrial where it goes through on the front and then does like the right angle and pierces through on the back. Those I do more often than not, and then that would make a really, really good, option for that. So yeah,
absolutely. If you didn't get a chance to check out our Floating Industrials video, go ahead and give that a click. It's actually pretty cool.
And then also shout out to Luis Garcia, who allowed me to use his picture on there. That's super cool folding one. You can see it right on there. Go check out the video. Cool.
Okay, next up, we have a question. Do you need to have big lips for a lip piercing?
You have to have the right anatomy for the piercing. if you're talking about a vertical labret piercing, if your lip is really, really flat and there's no ridge to really grab a hold of, there's a chance of rejection and you don't want to have a big scar there. So you're looking for more of a pouty lip if you're looking for a vertical labret piercing. Now, if you're looking at piercings that go straight in, like normal labret piercing, snake bites, a Monroe, Philtrum, those just need to go straight in. The only thing you're really worried about there is going to be the inner web, like on the Philtrum and your normal labret. Sometimes those webs come pretty far up and they can interfere with where the disc would lay. You don't have to have big lips though in order to get the piercing.
It's not necessarily a requirement, but yes,
yeah.
It's more like dependent on the actual anatomy.
Yeah, like what angle are you going and are you going to be able to go perpendicular?
So Kaylee just got her vertical labret done today, and the top is very far back on her lip. Mm-hmm. It's very close to the inside of my mouth instead of being closer to the middle. Will this affect healing? Is that okay?
Are you happy with it? That's the ultimate question, because it's all looks. It still can heal the way it is. If that's the look you want, where you just have like that bottom bead and you can barely see that top one, that's the way some people want them, where you close your mouth and you almost can't see that top bead. It's only visible when your mouth is open. Some people want it visible all the time. But here's the thing. If it was just done and you're not happy and it bothers you, take it out and start over. There's no use to heal this all up and then turn around, take it out because you're not happy. So if you're not happy with it, talk to your piercer. They should re-pierce you. Say, hey, when I close my mouth, I can't see it. I'm not happy with the placement. Can we move this forward? Chances are they'll make you take it out, leave it out for maybe a week or so, maybe a month, and then you can always get it re-pierced.
Excellent. LR says, hey, Scott.
Hi.
I'm wondering about what healing nipple piercings is like for people with large breasts. I can't find much information about it. So does the size of breasts affect the healing process?
Sometimes it does. The issues I've seen with larger breasts is a lot of times the nipple is more flat to the breast. And when we actually do the piercing, the issues I've seen is people don't give enough room so those beads get sucked in. You have to have, because the nipple gets twist when it gets erect, when it comes down. We do the piercing and it may look right, but once the nipple goes flat and everything spreads back out, sometimes the beads get sucked in. So you have to have room for that. As far as the actual healing, it's generally not too problematic. Once you have a bra on there, you have some pressure on there, it's going to hold it in place and you should be able to heal it up. It's just make sure you have enough bar for the actual length of the actual nipple. Yeah. Otherwise, it really shouldn't affect it. As long as the nipple actually protrudes out, there's a good chance you can heal it up. I will say that if the nipple is very flat against the breast, there is a good chance they can reject out. So if you think that's a possibility, keep your eye on it. Make sure that the tissue's not getting less and less, because it will split it into two if it does reject all the way out.
Shannon says, hi, and thank you for answering her question last Q&A.
Absolutely.
It was a septum piercing that was causing the tip of her nose to go numb.
Yes.
She's found that with daily massaging, the numbness has gone away. So
gotcha.
Just
a lot of times just put that pressure on those nerves and kind of things act weird. So good. Glad things are back to normal for you.
Joanna asks, what do you think about people who come in and say, do whatever you want? Do you like those kind of clients? Or do you think, oh no, these mother fellers again? Greetings from Poland.
Greetings. I appreciate it, but I'm not as much of a fan of it, to be honest with you. Like, I can look at someone's ear and say, hey, these are possibilities. Now, when you throw everything on my table and want me to do it exclusively for, like, I feel uncomfortable, because if you're not happy, like, I feel a lot of stress that way. Like, I'll help you make a decision, but ultimately I think it's your jewelry. I don't know.
Now, isn't there a lot of your competitors, or your not even competitors necessarily, but peers, who almost take an artistic pleasure in, it seems in the videos I've seen, like choosing for you? Like, it's almost like there are places you can go where you don't get to pick. They are going to pick, and they're going to give you what they decide looks best on you. Just not your thing.
It's just not my thing. It's like, I don't know. I know you're giving me consent to do it. It just feels weird to me, and I just don't feel comfortable doing it. I'd rather, like, I'll gladly help you find the right placement for the piercing you're looking for, and we can work with what you have, and I'll explain. But as far as just
designing.
I'm your
you.
canvas. Go nuts. It's like,
Interesting, because I think a lot of artists almost want that. I feel like tattoo artists want that, and a lot of piercings want that.
I think I disagree with the tattoo artists.
Okay.
I think tattoo artists want some sort of an idea as well. Like, oh, go ahead and do a sleeve. You can do whatever you want. That's too many options. Hey, I'm thinking something cartilage up top here, maybe like 3 or 4 piercings. I want to stick with the titanium. Let's theme something out with opals. Yeah, we'll work with that. Like, this is the jewelry we have.
So if they give you a starting off point,
give me a starting point, something we're working with here. I was thinking possibly a conch and this. Would those work? Would those work well together? Yeah, I can work with that. But complete blank canvas, it's tough.
Interesting. Yeah. Just you don't care to do it as an artist. That's not what you feel called to do.
Yeah.
Fun.
And then what should I get pierced? Like, I point out a lot of different possibilities, and it's like, this might be cool. This might be cool. It's like, I don't know, it's easier to do it on digital than it is in real person. And sometimes when people come in person, their anatomy of the angles could be a little different and it might not line up absolutely perfect. I can see it pretty close and it should work, but real life is sometimes
always a little better.
Yeah.
Until we start taking 3D scans of people's ears.
Ooh.
Figure it out. Technology.
Moving on up.
Emily has had a tragus for 2 years and things going well. Suddenly we're getting a bump again. Do you know what would cause it? Emily says she doesn't wear headphones.
I was like, did you get some new headphones? What else has changed? Have you changed like a fabric softener, laundry detergent, pillow? Is there new stress in your life? Sometimes stress can cause piercing bumps and piercings to act up. There's a lot of variables. So have you been sick lately? Sometimes when I've gotten sick, my piercings will get extra sore, irritated. It's another possibility. But you got to kind of look at the big picture of your overall life. What's changed and how is that related? Stress is a big one, though. A lot of times we don't see it coming.
What is the best way to deal with cleaning a Labret piercing if salt solution doesn't work well on my piercings? Do you recommend a salt solution? Is it about the solution you put on? Is it about leaving it alone?
Sometimes it is, because if you're mixing up your own sea salt solution, sometimes it's the water quality you're using, sometimes it's the salt. It's not measured exactly properly. So if you can use a wound wash spray, sterile saline solution that's in a can, generally that works much, much better. I've had a couple phone calls lately saying, well, like their skin's getting extra peely and dry around that area. And a lot of times that can be from swelling too. So if you have a lot of swelling, it's going to seem like that the skin on the outside, that layer is going to die and it's going to peel a little bit too. So keep the swelling down. And then the pre-mixed ones are the best options. Other than that, your body can heal it up. You're just trying to prevent those crusties and things from happening. So just do your best to keep the crusties off there if you can't use that saltwater solution.
Excellent. Heather Lee says, hey guys.
Hi.
I have a helix and a forward helix piercing in one ear that line up, as far as I can tell, perfectly. Do you have any ideas about what I could do to connect them? So what kind of piercings get connected together? What's it called when we connect piercings together? Like, let's talk about that.
Okay. Now, technically, you can take any 2 points of an ear and create an industrial piercing. I can connect a tragus to a conch, a tragus up to a helix. I can curve a bar going across the ear that way. We can bend things to make things work. But what we can't do is, if you have one piercing this way and like, oh, they're almost lined up, we can't force it. It has to be perfect. If we're forcing the ear and you're contorting the ear, twisting, you're going to create a bump and a huge piece of scar tissue on the side of your ears. So go to a piercer who knows what they're doing. We might need to adjust the bar, even if it's just 1 or 2 degrees, to make sure it sits in there properly.
What's it called if instead of a bar, I connect 2 piercings with a ring?
That would be an orbital. Okay, and a lot of you are thinking right now, the orbital is where it goes through the conch, and it's the ring around the conch. This was named later. I don't know who did this on the internet, but this is not accurate. An orbital is where you have 2 piercings, like through the top of the ear like this, and you're wearing a ring through both holes. If it's the bar through both holes, that's an industrial.
So depending on the lineup of this helix and forward helix, something could go through both of them. It would have to be custom bent though.
Correct. Like this forward helix, like a lot of times, like the piercings are more inwards like this,
Okay.
so the gem faces out. But you need it to be sideways perpendicular through the forward helix for the industrial to work.
Okay.
But we could always custom bend it. Now, the other concern I would have is a lot of forward helixes are generally done at a smaller gauge. So you probably have like an 18 gauge, maybe even a 16 gauge. And industrials are normally 14 gauge bars. So you might have some stretching to do.
Might not be the same size hole.
Yeah.
All right. So think about that, Heather, and see how that lines up for you. King wants to know if you recommend getting a vertical Labret and a Smiley at the same time, or are they going to interfere inside there?
No, you should be totally fine with that. Smiley's going to be healed up super, super quick in the vertical Labret. Hopefully your bottom lip shouldn't be going on your upper lip into the Smiley area. I can't imagine that would interfere.
Kyrina got a Helix piercing 6 months ago. Is it normal that it's still uncomfortable to sleep on? It doesn't look infected, feel infected. It just aches to sleep on.
Yeah, they take forever to heal. That's the frustrating part about the Helix. You always think it's just so simple to heal up, and it's like they take a while. They really, really take a while. Also, I just want to give big props to my apprentice, Jose, who did my earlobe piercings. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I got my earlobes again. I used to have really, really big ears. They were stretched up to like 2.5 inches, and they were removed, and I got just a little tiny bit of earlobe left up there. We pierced it. Thanks, Jose.
How long does it take for snake bites to heal? And how do you make that happen as fast as possible?
Okay. Snake bites, we're talking 2 lip piercings here, generally a couple months, and they're pretty well healed up. You're going to be swollen from 3 to 5 days. And after like 3 to 5 days, the swelling goes back to normal, and you're going to have little antennas sticking out of there. I generally suggest minimum of 3 or 4 weeks before you downsize to shorter posts. Once you put the shorter posts in there, it minimizes the risk of biting down on those posts and doing damage to your gums and your teeth. Typically, probably 2-3 months before the crusties go away and they're healed up enough to where you don't need to worry about them.
All right. Leviathan asks, is it possible to get your lobes pierced at a bigger gauge? What size do we pierce lobes at?
Absolutely. The thing is if you're piercing your lobes at a larger size, when we pierce with a needle, we're not removing tissue. What happened here? I got a big white screen going on. Hey, I'm back. So you can pierce at a larger size, but it makes a crescent incision. If you decide you don't want to have those piercings, you're going to have a larger scar on your ear if you decided to close them up. And if you pierce at a large size, if you go through my videos, you can see I'm piercing my apprentice at a 0 gauge. We pierced at a 4 gauge needle, stretch right to a 0. And now at this point, I think he's stretching up to 7/8 of an inch. It's almost a year later. So, I mean, he was able to go big quick. And his ears are super, super healthy too. So that's really awesome.
So that's piercing Jose's lobes. If you wanted to search that out, it's actually, he goes from no holes at all to large gauge ear piercings all in one go.
So yes, it is totally possible. And watch that video because I do explain things in detail there.
All right. Kaylin is getting my second earlobe pierced next week. How much distance would be between the first and second? And does this gauge size matter when it comes to this?
Just a little tiny bit. It depends on what your overall plan is for the future. I always ask people when they come in and they have like first holes and they want to get their seconds, like, do you wear like button size earrings? Do you wear big earrings? Do you wear big hoops? What's your overall plan? How many do you want in the future? I mean, some people say, I ultimately want 3. Well, let's put 2 more dots and place this out so it looks right for 3 of them. So that's what I mean by like figure out what you want. If you only want to wear rings in there and you want those rings nice and tight, we can go pretty close together. But keep in mind, if you're wearing studs, you want to have room for those backs to sit in there as well. So close, but not crazy close. You got to figure out what you want. I suggest maybe take like a Sharpie marker and you kind of play around on your ears, the distance, what you think looks good. You might need to use a little rubbing alcohol to wipe off the black though.
Excellent. How do I go about getting a T eyebrow piercing? It's like a normal one and an anti-eyebrow, right?
A T eyebrow piercing?
So if you had a horizontal eyebrow and a normal eyebrow and just stacked them next to each other like a T shape, what do you think about that?
You could, yeah. I've actually done that on a friend of mine where I actually did the eyebrow piercing and then the horizontal. It looks more like an L than a T. Yeah, that's the only thing I can really think of. Or if you did like a surface bar on the top and almost like a dermal anchor on the bottom, it's going to kind of give that little triangle look. That's
Neat.
another possibility.
So it's two separate piercings that would be done probably not at the same time, or
correct. Yeah. Or you could even do a normal eyebrow piercing and the dermal anchor on the top as well to kind of give that. Yeah. Lots of options. Lots of options. Unless you're talking about some sort of a T-bar where it's surface and they kind of tap into the top, which I don't know where you'd find jewelry for something like that. I wish I could.
Congratulations to Fangirl for getting a Medusa and nose piercing today. Loving the combo.
Sweet.
Andy Dandy might be getting a conch done today. Getting nervous. Do you have any tips?
It's totally normal to be nervous. You're going to be just fine. It does go nice and quick. Get pierced with a stud, not the hoop. And bring a good support team with you. You know, not a whole team, but someone who you feel comfortable with is going to got your back and just eat a nice meal before you go. You got this.
All right. I've seen an oldish video of you piercing someone's lows at a big size and stretching them. Do you still do this? So yeah, you do still do that, right?
Yep. I've had a really good luck. I mean, since I did that video, I think I've pierced probably 4 or 5 people's earlobes at the 0 gauge in this last year. There's only one person who had a little bit of a problem. They overswelled. We just put longer posts in there, and then everything seemed to be getting fixed up, though. So
we have requests for a video about getting started as a piercer. So that is something that's in the pipe that we're getting soon.
I'll have to add that up on the queue.
Can I pierce my earlobe if I have trapped infection in it?
That's a weird question here. Trapped infection.
Like if we had like a big lump in our earlobe?
Okay. It's probably not infected. If you had a piercing before and you can feel that bump in there, that is what we call the fistula. Like that's that tubus scar tissue. And a lot of times people say it just kind of builds up in there. Sometimes there's little calcium deposits, things like that. If it was infected, it would be radiating red. It'd be sore. You should be seeking out a doctor if that's the case. Hopefully it's not infected. If it's just that hard bump from an old scar of an old piercing, that is totally safe to pierce. I hope I answered that properly.
How long do I have to wait to swim after my nose piercing?
I tell people a minimum of 1 month. Okay. It is an open wound for a month. If it's still really crusty, if it was bleeding recently, it's still an open wound. And I've seen people get staph infections, which will send you to a hospital. So don't go swimming until it's healed up enough, or at least keep your head above water. Don't get wet.
During the healing process, is it okay to change out to another type of stud if you're tired of wearing the one you have? For example, if you're wearing a titanium and you want to change it to a diamond, is that okay to do early, or that's what's going to irritate it?
Patience is the key, and that's what everyone has an issue with. Make sure you're fully healed up, done with the crusties before you start changing it in and out. Otherwise, you will get that dreaded piercing bump.
Speaking of the bump, Amanda White had a nose piercing on 9/9 of 21, and it's still not healed. I had to have the jewelry changed about 2 weeks ago because of an irritation bump.
Okay, a 9/9? That's a long time. I'd be curious, who did the piercing? What kind of jewelry do you have in there? Is it steel? Is it titanium? Is it a nostril screw, a threadless piece of jewelry?
And if they just changed the jewelry 2 weeks ago because of an irritation bump, how long should we wait before we...
Because the bump was there because it was irritated. Changing it out re-irritates it, so it's going to take a while for that to go back down again. And then I'd also have to ask what your aftercare regimen is. Like, how do you take care of it? Hopefully it's just the wound wash spray. You're carefully wiping it off there. The only other thing I would say is maybe start using some emu oil that can kind of help calm down upset piercings if it's really, really bad.
It's like you can read the future. Our next question is from Kayla Moonlock, and she got a triple helix piercing 9 months ago. Mm-hmm. Top 2 seem well healed, but the bottom one keeps having issues with occasional swelling and discharge. Should I just take it out at some point? Should I try emu oil?
I would say try the emu oil. Cartilage piercings like this, I tell expect a year. This is what they say, 9 months at this point.
Yeah.
You still have several months to go where it still could heal up. Single piercings sometimes take over a year to heal. We want it to heal faster than that, but the fact that you have 3 of them mostly healed and you're only having the problem with the one, that's pretty awesome. I mean, it's not awesome that you have the bump, but you're doing pretty good with the triple.
Are lip piercings okay if you have lip filler?
To my understanding, when you get lip filler, you're supposed to get it injected every so many months. I don't 100% know how that affects the fistula and how things can change. It could change the angle. But all I know is that if you're healing a piercing, you can't get any sort of lip filler for several months. I've actually been, Jared and I were talking about this, maybe even talking to a plastic surgeon, see if we can talk to someone about, figuring these things out and getting some real solid answers for you. Hopefully we can get that real soon for you.
Absolutely.
It's a real popular question. It keeps coming up though, so I need to get an answer.
How long do we expect the swelling to last on an industrial? It's been 2 whole weeks.
At least another 2 whole weeks. Sometimes cartilage piercings stay swollen until they're completely healed up. I've seen them take 6 months before everything's kind of calmed back down, especially if they're being bumped, hit, your masks are being hit on there. If you're wearing a hat at this point, it's cold. There's a lot of variables, but it's going to stay swollen a long time. Just be nice to your piercing.
Are glass retainers tough? I'm kind of scared of them shattering.
Glass retainers are generally made out of quartz, which is actually harder than Pyrex. Now, the only time I've ever seen a retainer break is if someone were to drop it from like 5 feet up and it hits concrete on the floor. Otherwise, I've never seen one break, let alone seen one break inside someone's body. Now, the reason you would wear a glass retainer is for a medical procedure. Don't do it to hide it from the refs for a sport. If you got hit in the face with a volleyball with a glass retainer in your nose, you're going to have problems. Wear a plastic or an acrylic one or silicone one in a situation like that. Do not wear glass for a retainer for sports. Cannot stress that enough.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Only for medical, basically.
Yes.
Before.
Yeah.
Olivia had a Helix piercing for about 7 months and it hasn't healed yet. I don't know what to do. I need to change my jewelry to a shorter length, but I can't get it through my piercing bumps.
How long?
7 months.
7 months. You can't get it through the piercing. What do you mean can't get it through the
piercing? Like the bumps are so near the piercing hole that they can't thread the new jewelry through?
It's too tight.
Yes.
Then you need to get rid of the bumps before you put that shorter jewelry in. Sometimes you need to wait till the bumps go down before you can downsize, just so it can fit inside there. So I would maybe suggest going to the longer post again and maybe look at one of those no pull discs. If you maybe put the no pull disc, it might go on the back and you can kind of get rid of the bump on the back. If your ear is folded, the disc won't fit in there. It has to sit flat against there and not really dig in. Does that make sense what I'm saying, Jared?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is it normal for piercings to get itchy?
Yes. When your body's healing, there's a lot of white blood cells rushing to that area and a lot of movement and heat, and that does create that itching sensation. So that means your body's working.
Itching's not bad. Itching's actually good.
Yes.
Excellent. I've heard of not using tap water to clean piercings, but what if I use water from a Brita filter? I put tap water in it, but it filters the water. Do you feel like that matters a lot, if it should be tap water versus Brita water? You shower in tap water.
My point exactly. If the shower water is going to hit it, like when you're mixing your salt water, you want to be using as clean, pure, sterile water as possible. But at the same time, our piercings are exposed to a lot of elements. The sheets and blankets on your bed, the clothes throughout the day, the tap water coming out of the shower or your bath. There's a lot of things hitting this. But as far as mixing your own salt water, it's better to buy a pre-mixed wound wash spray. That's what I would suggest. If you have to mix your own, I suggest going out and buying distilled water. Maybe getting a gallon of distilled water, mix it as you need it each time. That's going to be the best bet, in my opinion. And if you can't use that, the Brita's better than the tap water. Each little step is better and better, but pre-mixed is best.
Victoria asks, can my tongue be too small to pierce?
Yes. Tongue piercings, if your tongue can't stick out past your bottom lip, I'm not going to feed the needle all the way in and kind of scoop it in there. A lot of times, if your tongue can't come outside your mouth, that's called being tongue-tied, where the web goes too far to the tip of your tongue. If that web is all the way through there, we don't really want to pierce through there, and you don't want that ball rubbing up against that web anyways, because that'll erode that web, and then it just gets raw and super, super sore on the inside. So, yes, you can have too small of a tongue to pierce.
When it comes to cleaning a piercing, are you on the side of Q-tips or just spray it, let it sit, dry with a tissue?
I am a paper towel / gauze person. I don't like the Q-tips because the cotton fibers can wrap around there, turn into a bacteria trap. If there's prongs holding onto the gems, those cotton fibers just stay there all the time. Paper towels are good. Sterile gauze is even better to wipe off those crusties.
So you're tough, like folding it flat, getting an edge or a corner, and kind of sliding it under.
You can use it like a Q-tip or a cotton swab, if you get it to a point, and it'll wipe off those crusties. But if you've soaked those crusties, they're so soft, they just wipe right off. So, yeah, stay away from the Q-tips. They generally cause more problems.
Sigrid goes horse riding quite often and wears a helmet that sits down close to the eyebrows. I want to get an eyebrow piercing, but do you think that it would be a bad idea? Or is there any way that you could tape the piercing to protect it from your helmet?
Not really. The only thing I can think of, I don't know why this popped in my head, is get some makeup or, something like to put it right there. And if your helmet smears that makeup, you're not going to be able to heal it up.
Okay, so you're saying make a test dot.
If it's pressing up against there, you're not going to heal it. Yeah, that's a bad idea. That's one thing. People come in with motorcycles all the time with the helmets like, I want to get a Helix piercing. It's like, you're not going to heal it. You got to be careful with that. It's really, really tough.
Let's clarify. For Dashcam California wants you to re-explain the orbital piercing and the difference with the misnomer, and what should we call that other piercing instead if it's not an orbital?
Sure. Can you see if you can find a picture of an orbital for us first?
I'll pull that up while you're explaining.
Now, an orbital piercing, what the internet now says is where it's a conch piercing, where it goes through this bulb of the ear and you wear a ring going around the ear, and that orbits the conch. That's why they're calling it an orbital. But this orbital term has already been named before. That is like an industrial piercing. Industrial is where the bar goes from side to side when you're wearing a barbell. Now, if I did 2 vertical piercings up and down, like here to here, and you wore a ring where half the ring goes underneath and the other half goes above, or like from side to side, sometimes you see it in the earlobes. But when you connect 2 piercings with a captive bead ring or a circular barbell, that's considered to be an orbital piercing. Have you found any up there, Jared?
Yes.
Okay.
So let me pull up a couple pictures here. This is an example of, on the left side, you see just a conch piercing with a ring.
Yes.
Versus over here on the right, we see that this is actually, it pierces through you twice.
Yes.
This ring goes through 2 different spots. And so you're saying this ring could be anywhere. We could have it piercing 2 holes over here, or 90 degrees backwards through the flat.
Correct. And I do want to say that this orbital you're looking at is insane. Part of me wants to say that's probably photoshopped, because trying to heal a snug through an anti-tragus in this orbital would be brutal. And props to them if they did it.
And so this is an example of something that we would call an orbital, but is not.
The internet calls this an orbital, but it's not really an orbital. That's a conch piercing with a ring.
All right. Yes. So a little
Thank
education
you. I
there.
wish more people would figure, because we get appointments all the time. Like, I'm here to get an orbital piercing. And it's like, I get ready to do the double and dust, the double piercing and put a ring in there. And like, no, it's just a conch. I'm
just
like,
one. It's like, all right. I guess I
do conch piercings all the time. I love doing them, but I never get a chance to do real orbitals. So that's why I get bummed out.
Little disappointment right there. With a conch piercing, do you recommend stretching or punching if you want to expand it? Well, you can have an opinion without legally doing it to anyone. But
punching is the better option. If you want to go big, punch. Mine were pierced at a 4 gauge and stretched immediately to a 2. And it was one of the most brutal things I ever went through, trying to get that 4 gauge needle through my conch. It's the one time I threw in the white towel. I'm like, I'm done. I cannot take this anymore. I was going to go to a 0, and I was literally felt like someone took 2 baseball bats and went on both sides of my ear at the same time. I was just brutal. It was tandem too, one on each side.
2 piercers simultaneously.
I'm a glutton for punishment. Yeah.
Hey, Scott, I have a high nostril piercing for 1 week, and when I touch my nose on the side where the piercing is, I can feel pain where it was pierced. How long does it take to stop feeling that?
We were talking about this earlier. High nostril piercings have a really small gap to where it kind of touches in where that septum area is, and it just gets raw after a while. Now the thing is just try not to touch it. Do your best to kind of get this to heal up. Once the swelling goes down, downsize to a shorter post where a more comfortable disc or bead on the inside will be way better for you. But you're going to need to downsize in the future. That's the reason why. Yeah, it's rough. I went through it. Someone else went through it earlier, still going through it. You're not alone.
So another question with high nostrils, and they struggle with dry snot that gets constantly stickied on these things. Any cleaning or care recommendations? What can you do if you're having, like, I guess, nose problems with the inside of your jaw?
It's rough. I mean, a normal nose piercing, you get boogers and crusties and stuff. And then when it's way up there, sometimes it's just like, oh, it tickles so much. All you can really do is take that wound wash spray and kind of spray it up there, or put it onto, like, roll up a paper towel at a nice tight point and spray that and soak that and kind of get it then and try to soak it and try to rub it off. It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough.
Brian Hoffman wants to know if you can heal a new piercing with glass plugs.
Yes, you can heal a new piercing with glass plugs. The problem is a lot of times that O-ring, the groove on the back is eventually gonna fall off. The only time I ever pierce people with glass plugs is large gauge lobe piercings to start off with. I don't like to start with retainers. But if I was to do a large gauge cartilage piercing, I'd probably do glass in there as well. And another thing before you go on to the next thing, for those of you just joining us, I don't know if you heard this, but it's Jared's birthday today. So yeah, happy birthday, Jared.
Thanks, Scott. Noel wants to know if we can do a whole truth on the faux rook, or do you basically consider it the same as a flat?
It's really, really similar. Yes, we can talk. Did we do one already or not?
Not. We haven't recorded that.
We've done
yet,
a lot of them. So yeah, that's coming up then. Great call. Good call. Thank you.
Okay. Denise had a Doth pierced about 4 months ago. No issues until about 3 weeks ago. And then the ear got dry and flaky and will bleed when cleaning. Mm-hmm. Backed off on the saline, still having issues. How would we know if it was rejecting? What does a rejecting Doth act like?
There's almost going to be like a red line in the middle. If you look at your piercing and you can see where both piercing holes are and it's on the outside edge, there's a chance it could be rejecting out. Now, if we're looking at like this ear here, you see how this doesn't have, like, further in, there's more of a ridge. You can see the shadows. But on the outside edge, if you see your piercing, like the holes going here and coming out, it might be rejecting out because then it's not deep enough. Now, if your piercing looks like it's coming from way inside here, then it's probably deep enough and it's probably not rejecting. If you're nervous about it, go talk to your piercer. That's going to be your best bet. Sometimes you could be mostly healed up and have a little bit of a crusty, and that crusty gets pulled in and your piercing is going to swell way up. Mine did that. Mine was healed up really well for 3 or 4 months before it got agitated. I went to the emu oil and that calmed me down in a couple days. So that's what I would suggest. Maybe do the emu oil and go talk to your piercer if you're worried about it rejecting.
Angel Imp wants to know if they can use wound wash spray on a septum.
Yes. Yeah, aim for your septum, not up your nose. It's real awkward when you shoot it way up there.
And Lori Beth, just a success story, has had a vertical labret with lip fillers and didn't have any sort of problem. Did them not at the exact same time, though. Got the lip filler first.
Does she still get lip fillers, too, every once in a while? Has she got them since? That's the question.
Lori Beth, if you're still here, let us know.
Thank you.
Molly wants to know how to help with a fussy eyebrow.
There's a lot of factors. Is makeup getting inside there? Is it hair product? Are you sleeping on that side? Do you have a ring or do you have a barbell? If you have a ring, maybe change to the barbell so there's less movement, less irritation. If you have a bar in there, is the bar too short or too long? That can also be a factor. How new is the piercing? Are you cleaning it with a wound wash or are you using other chemicals? There's a lot of factors. And the last factor, which always is kind of out of our control, is stress. Sometimes if we're extra stressed, piercings can just act up. So chill out.
That's all we're saying is chill out, man.
Just chill. Yeah.
All right. We have another question. I took a 4-month-old nipple piercing out 2 months ago because it was crooked. Is it safe to pierce it again now? It looks fully closed.
Yeah, I'm sure you're fine. Generally, I tell people a minimum of a month before you get things re-pierced. And sometimes it's kind of massaging and breaking down the scar tissue. If you can't feel a lot of it in there, go for it. I'm sure you're fine.
Okay, clarification from earlier. Amanda was having problems and had to switch out the jewelry. It was a metal allergy. Now we have a titanium stud in. So
good.
Using the wound wash spray twice a day and leaving it alone. So that's pretty good advice.
Yes, but was the bar too short still? Was that who we were talking?
I don't think so. I think it was a different. I think this one we changed it due to a metal reaction, and we're still having bumps and problems. So give it a little time.
It's still going to take time. It's been upset for a while. It takes a while to get back to normal. So, yep.
All right. Lots of kind words from everyone. People like Sophie, who have gotten 3 new piercings because of the encouragement your videos have provided.
I love that. Cool.
I had my ears pierced with a 16 gauge needle, I believe. Can I stretch it straight up to a 12?
You hear hesitation in my voice. Normally, I say never double stretch. Now, if you've had your 16 gauge jewelry in there for maybe a couple years and you pull down, sometimes you can see enough of a gap where a 12 goes in without any pain. If you go to a 14, or if it seems like it's extra tight, go one size at a time. Generally, that's the only time I'll ever do a double jump is like from a 16 to a 12 or from like an 18 to a 14 if you've had your piercing for a long time. If you've only had it a couple months, single stretch.
Is it safe to get 3 or more cartilage piercings in one ear at one time, like a Doth, double conch, and a Helix?
A conch? Wait, what? A Doth?
Doth. It says double conch and a Helix.
Yeah, that's 4 piercings.
Yeah, that'll be 4 total.
It's quite a bit. If it's all on one ear, and that's the plan anyways, you're going to be dealing with a long healing process, and you're not sleeping on it. So, yeah, maybe go for it. But the thing is it's going to be a long healing process. Multivitamins might be a really good idea, so you can really boost your immune system to help heal it up faster. And no sleeping on that side for a good year. Yeah.
How long do you recommend waiting before stretching a septum? Also, could mask wear affect that healing with humidity and whatnot?
Generally, I haven't seen too many problems with healing the septums with the masks. As far as the stretching goes, minimum of 2 months, maybe 3 months before you even think about stretching. And if you have crusties, any soreness, tenderness, don't stretch. You're not there yet.
How's a coin slot piercing done? Is that a piercing?
Not quite a piercing. That's more of a modification. Now, a coin slot, for those of you who don't know, is basically where it's like a normal helix piercing, except they've made a slot where it looks like you could drop a coin through the ear and people will stack a series of rings going all the way through it. They look super. Can you find a picture of that, Jared?
Yeah.
See if you can find one. And anyways, what happens is a lot of times they use a scalpel and they actually cut and remove tissue and suture and heal it shut. So there's that long slit, and you almost heal it with no jewelry in there, I believe. I have never done this before. I'm not a body modification artist. I am a body piercer, but this is how it's done. And once they're healed up, they look super cool. I've even seen one where they did an orbital, 2 coin slots next to each other and had a series of rings going through there.
See here, we have like kind of a large hole with a whole stack of different stuff in there.
Exactly. And then, there you can see where there's no jewelry in there. See how they've actually made the incision, they sutured it shut, and so that's what a coin slot is. I don't perform in these, but these are super cool.
Not something you're going to find at most normal shops. This is more like an underground kind of body mod type of thing. Okay, I have always wanted a tongue piercing, but I have metal sensitivities and I'm generally a slow healer, even with ear piercings. Is a tongue piercing more prone to infections or more difficult to heal?
A tongue piercing is a rough week. No matter who you are, it's going to be swollen from 3 to 5 days. But typically, tongues are going to heal faster than an earlobe would. Oral piercings heal super quick. As far as prone to infections, I've never really seen an infected tongue. I have seen a picture of a gangrenous tongue before, which means it started dying and tissue going bad because someone had this brilliant idea to go to a party and have their tongue pierced, and they were 7th in line using the same needle piercing because their friends were piercing. So that's why home piercings are never a good situation. They removed a third of their tongue. It died and they had to have it removed. Yeah.
Wow.
Terrible. That's the worst case scenario. But as far as like professional piercings, I've never seen one get infected. It's not to say it doesn't happen. I'm just saying they heal fast and most people don't want to expose their tongue to that kind of stuff. So
Taylor has had their tragus pierced for a month now.
okay.
Been cleaning it morning and night every day with a saline spray. Haven't touched it or slept on it, and yet I still have a bump on the inside of my ear. Mm-hmm. Normal. What can we do?
Make sure you're not wearing earphones, earbuds, anything that goes in your ear. Even if it doesn't hurt, sometimes that can cause that little irritation to where the bump will happen. So if you're wearing those, you need to back off until it's healed up. Sometimes just sleeping on it, just a little irritation can cause that bump to happen. Just don't worry about it. Keep cleaning it. Chances are the bump's going to go away. Now, if the jewelry's way too tight or way too long and it's causing problems that way, you might want to talk to a piercer about getting a shorter or longer bar. But chances are you're going to be just fine.
Madison actually has a great question. It's the little things you don't think of to ask.
Yeah.
She's about to go get nipple piercings. Do you recommend she wears a normal bra or a sports bra when going to the piercer to get this done? She's not sure if she should be restricting them with a sports bra. So what's the proper attire to wear to a piercing?
It's a great question, and not enough people ask this. So thank you for asking this. A sports bra is hands down the best thing you can wear. I get a lot of women come in like, oh, I want to wear like the sexiest or the cutest bra when I go in there so they can, but it's like, you might be bleeding. We're doing a piercing. There might be a little tiny bit of blood on there. And then the other thing is putting pressure on your piercings. Your nipples are going to be hypersensitive, and putting pressure on there is going to make it feel way better. I also get a lot of women coming in who don't wear bras saying like, well, I don't want anything touching it. But if your nipple's really sensitive, you're going to feel every fiber, every thread rubbing up against there. So sports bras will be your friends.
Excellent. So
Yes.
that is the answer.
That is the answer, hands down. I've never met a piercer who says otherwise too. So
Pink Heartlix has had a philtrum since November of last year. It started acting up last week. My lip is swollen and there's a huge bump on the inside of my lip that the flat disc disappear. Mm-hmm. I'm using alcohol-free mouthwash.
okay, and it's how old is it?
November of last year. So this is like a year-old piercing.
No,
November of last year. Yeah, the year just. You think last year, a year ago.
I know it's brand new. Bumps like this happen all the time. A lot of times that disc goes into your lip and you're creating that pocket. And as that pocket's being creative, a lot of times you're going to see that bump grow on the side. Most of the time it does go away once that pocket is established and the bump realizes it doesn't need to be there. So don't pick at it. Don't bite at it. Just try to be patient and it should get better. Continue using the alcohol-free mouthwash. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
How often do you do dermals on the clavicle? Is that a common spot?
Never anymore. Here in Las Vegas, I believe they recently made it illegal to do dermal anchors, so we are no longer offering that service. When I did offer dermal anchors, most of the ones I did were going to be either right up on like the cheekbone up here, or in the throat, or in the cleavage area. Now, the collarbone ones, I've done them quite a bit. Most of the time, these reject out pretty quick because bra straps, purses, seat belts. There's so many things that rub up against it and hit this. Plus, not to mention like the amount of movement, you're going to find in they cause reject out quickly. So I do them, or I did them, but yeah, they're problematic.
Question about healing up piercings. We've also heard that taking vitamin C supplements can speed up your healing process. Is that true?
I believe it can. Just in general, the healthier you are, the faster you're going to heal. So, I mean, if it helps get rid of a cold, it's going to boost your immune system. Mm-hmm.
Just stands to reason that it would help with that too. Thank you everyone for the birthday wishes. Ashley has been stretching her ears and it hurts. What should I do?
Slow down. Stretching your ears and it hurts. In general, you should only be going one size at a time, and a proper stretch shouldn't hurt. Each stretch you do should probably have a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks between each stretch. So what I suggest people do is in the shower, if you have a mirror in there and like the hot water hits there for like 5 minutes or so, if you pull down on your earring, if you can see a little bit of a gap or it seems like the jewelry's extra loose, you're ready to go to the next stretch. Some people, it takes a long, long time between each stretch to actually stretch properly. If you're buying taper kits and stuff online to stretch with, these are tools that are made to do a nice slow stretch and it shouldn't hurt. So most people do more damage with these tapers. So be careful about that too. I don't know what else to say without seeing the jewelry you're stretching with or how you're doing it, but slow and steady wins the race.
Off-topic question. Do you game? We have a sense that you're a PlayStation guy.
Not really. I have done some computer games in the past. I've played Xbox. I've done the PlayStation. I'm terrible. I lose, but I love playing, but I'm not good. I don't have any time. I don't even have a gaming system in my house right now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I don't.
It's okay. I got a PlayStation. I play games.
I'm a killer Wii bowler.
Also not great. I mean, I'm pretty good. I play some Doom, some Call of Duty.
Yeah.
The classics.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Next question. I got an industrial a few weeks back on a whim and didn't realize that the black jewelry my piercer used was bad.
Yes.
I used all my money, so I can't order a new one or go back. I replaced it with some nipple piercing jewelry I'd gotten in a variety pack when I did my septum. Should I change it back to the black jewelry so it can heal at the right angle, or do I leave in the nipple barbells?
So if the black jewelry is painted on there and it's flaking off, that's terrible. You cannot have that. But at the same time, if you have an industrial and you have 2 bars in there, they're going to be healing at different angles, and then you're not going to be able to wear the industrial once they're at completely different angles either. So you need to have the right bar. If you just took the black bar out because I said black bar wasn't the right thing and it's not flaking off, you're better off having that until you can replace it with the proper jewelry. So don't heal it up with the 2 bars, but if it's painted
and I think it's a nipple jewelry. So we've taken
nipple
out the
piercings,
yes.
Or is it an industrial bar?
Okay, so they've got a nipple jewelry in the industrial.
That's why I think
now.
they have 2 separate bars.
Yes. And you feel like those are going to migrate apart.
They're going to change angles, and that's why you need to heal an industrial with the 1 bar in there. Now, if the industrial bar, like I said, is flaking, causing problems, that needs to come out. But if it's not flaking, put that industrial bar back in there until you can afford to buy one that's not black.
Do you recommend eyelid piercings?
No. Eyelid piercings, we're talking the actual eyelid, and like that's scooping in, you can have the bar rubbing up against your eyeball. Terrible. No, don't ever do that. Don't ever do it.
How safe is a double nipple piercing, and is there any difference in the aftercare?
Now, as far as the double nipple piercing, there's a couple different options. One is you can do 1 horizontal piercing and 1 vertical piercing. Another option is you can do 2 horizontal ones, almost like surface bars. These are a little tougher to heal up, and there's a higher chance of rejection with this. Most people go like horizontal first, heal it up maybe a year later. Then when you pull it on the nipple, there's enough tissue that regenerated where there's room to go behind it. You can't get them both done in the initial first piercing unless you have a large enough nipple to support both piercings. Most people get it a year after and get that second one in.
Is there any certain anatomy that you need to get a conch piercing, or is it pretty universal that just about everybody can get a conch?
I'm never going to say it's 100% universal. Some people will have a Doth like this that protrudes and goes almost all the way across. And then like that part's going to get kind of thick and it's not going to support it. And you might need to go above or below it. But I mean, the conch can be pierced vertical up through this way. It can be done vertical straight through the bottom. It can be straight in. It can be further deeper in this way. There's a lot of areas you can pierce. So you can probably pierce your conch. It's just there's a possibility it might not be in the spot where you want it.
How do you find out if you've got the right ear shape for an industrial piercing without going to a piercer?
I went over this a little earlier, but basically this is what we're looking at for like an ear shape here. Like if you have a flat ridge like this, we can't pierce this for a normal industrial because you're looking for a natural ridge like this. Now, if your ear is shaped similar to this, where there's no ridge in the middle here for like press against the bar and you can go side to side, that's a great shape. You can see how that has a natural ridge. Now, when you're looking at an ear like this and you hold this, you see how this part in the middle raises up about as much as where the industrial bar, so it'd press against here and that would cause a problem. You almost need to go in and see a piercer to see if you're pierceable, but if you have a real flat ridge on the edge, you're probably not pierceable without custom bending.
And making it a floating industrial instead.
Correct.
Okay. Can I change my belly button piercing after 6 weeks? Because I asked my piercer and he said yes.
No. Your navel piercing takes a minimum of 3 to 6 months to heal up. You're trying to heal that tube of scar tissue through there. It is thin. You're going to rip and tear that tissue, causing piercing bumps to grow, and then you're going to have nothing but problems for months and months and months afterwards. 3 to 4 months minimum before you change your jewelry.
So if Ruth got a septum piercing, but it was straight through the cartilage, can we still stretch it?
Not easily. Yes, you can stretch it, but it's not easy to do. If that's really what your intention is, I would say start over.
So Caitlin has an interesting one here. We have a 1.5-month-old conch that's healed very well so far.
Good.
But it's become extremely swollen since Caitlin got COVID. Can she change it back to a longer barbell now, or should she wait till she's not sick?
If you can change it yourself to longer, if the beads are getting sucked in, yeah, you need a longer bar on there. And it may not be a bad idea to try to take something to get that swelling down. Like if you can like ice it, get some cold packs on there, that will help quite a bit. But yeah, if it's causing a problem, you need a longer bar in there. Sometimes it's only a couple days it's swollen, so you got to kind of weigh things out. Are you going to cause more trauma changing it out, or does it need to be done? But if you have COVID, you can't go see a piercer either, so catch-22.
So with fresh nipple piercings, is there any special aftercare, or is it you suggest using the saline wound wash spray to get off the crusties the same as everything else?
Pretty much everything is going to be the wound wash spray to clean your piercings, except for some oral piercings where you want to use like an alcohol-free antiseptic mouthwash.
But you haven't heard anything about like the saline solution being bad for a nipple piercing specifically?
Nope. Your body's made up of that saline solution. It's natural for every single piercing on your body. Just tastes like crap.
How long to stretch a frenum piercing?
Until it's healed up. Which frenum piercing are we talking about? There's a lot of different frenums. We can talk about Smiley, tongue web, scrumper. It could be a genital. It could be a hand web. All these are different frenum piercings. If it's a genital piercing, probably 2 or 3 months. Let it fully heal up. And if it feels comfortable, then you're able to stretch it. If there's no gap, don't stretch it. I don't see why anyone would want to stretch Smiley, scrumper, or a tongue web. I actually did stretch my tongue web on the underside, and it got so big that it actually broke through. So it wasn't actually a really good idea. Yeah, got it up to a 4 gauge. I don't know why I thought that was a great idea.
Youth.
Yeah.
So Ruth has a great question here. How long do you have to use the saline for? Is it every day for the entire healing process for 9 months, or is it just for the first few weeks or months?
It's a fantastic question. Now, a minimum of 1 month, because most piercings are considered to be open wounds for a month, and you need to kind of flush all those crusties off there. The whole premise, what I believe, is to eliminate irritation and problems by getting rid of those crusties. So I suggest using the wound wash spray until your crusties are pretty much done. So if you don't have crusties on your piercing, the wound wash spray isn't necessarily doing anything because you've healed that tube of scar tissue thick enough to prevent infections from happening. So if there's no crusties or irritation, you probably don't need to do them anymore. If it starts acting up or getting sore, becomes an open wound, definitely go back. So it's different for every single piercing situation, but I generally tell people a minimum of a couple months.
How quickly can a septum heal? Mine is a 1.5 months old and feels completely healed. Haven't had any crusties since last year, and I want to change the horseshoe jewelry into a ring.
you're probably fine. I tell people septum piercing 6 to 8 weeks, and if you said it's month and a half,
6 weeks, yeah.
6 weeks, bam.
All right. I'm about 5 years out to becoming a surgeon. I have multiple piercings, Doth, Conch, Industrial Rook. When going into the OR, is switching with glass retainers okay? Do you generally find anyone can get away with constantly irritating their piercings by pulling things in and out?
There's better options. What piercings were we talking about?
Doth, a Conch, an Industrial, a Rook. And they're concerned as the surgeon that they would not be wearing them into the ER.
Yeah, see, the thing is when you're putting retainers in there, there's little O-rings which can fall off. That would be my number one concern. You're operating on someone and something were to fall off.
That is a concern.
That's a concern. That's not an option. You're better off having a captive bead ring or something like that in there. And I know that's another thing, you can't have certain metals or whatnot, but the implant grade titanium should be fine as far as that goes. There also might be the hidden factor. Sometimes you can take specialty beads, maybe stone beads, something that's going to look closer to your skin tone, or maybe get a titanium disc or something that you could anodize to look closer to the skin tone. That would be safer to wear than the O-rings and the rubber band type things on those retainers. Retainers scare me. That's one thing, like people I wear, like I'm a cook and I put retainers in, like if that falls in someone's food, you have a nasty lawsuit. You're just trying to hide it from your boss, but I'm sure your boss would rather not have the lawsuit.
Right. Yeah. It's creating a bigger problem.
Weigh things out and think things through. That's the same thing like retainers, like kids coming in, like saying, oh, I play soccer. Can I put a glass retainer? Like if you get hit in the face with that retainer with the glass retainer in there, that's going to cause a problem. There's a reason you're not supposed to have certain piercings in certain areas, but it's not going to affect the performance of your job as a surgeon. It's just the professionalism, which
is another part of it.
And what if you sign up for that religion, the Church of Body Modification? Then it becomes part of your religion, and then they can't really. But it's like,
so many battles.
The way out, yes.
What spray do you recommend for cleaning piercings?
I love Neomed wound wash spray. I like the fine, gentle mist, not the full stream. That's my personal preference. And I will even go as to say I like the smaller bottle versus the bigger bottle. I like the way it dispenses a little nicer out of the smaller one.
Okay. How soon can I change my septum jewelry, and can I change it myself?
Yes, you can change your own jewelry. I suggest you do it during the middle of the day when you can go see your piercer if you can't find the piercing hole. You can't see it like a normal body piercing, and some people lose their piercing because they take it out and can't find the hole. It's that simple. But yeah, you can change your jewelry yourself. Put a towel down over your sink. You will drop your jewelry. Wash your hands with a lot of soap. That takes the oils off your hands so you get a better grip. And like I said, give yourself time to go see your piercer if you need your piercer.
Good advice. Liz wants to know what the health risks of having a stretched Medusa / philtrum piercing are, and how do you avoid those risks, or is it even possible to avoid them?
With how far are you stretching it? If you're stretching it to a 1/2 inch, 5/8, or even bigger, like you can have a big plug, that's probably not going to close up. You're going to need to go see a surgeon or a doctor to have that surgically closed up. Is this something you want forever? As far as like stretching and doing damage, there's some nerves in there. I don't really know what kind of damage you could do. I've had a lot of friends who've had stretched Medusas, philtrums, and haven't had any issues other than gum erosion or gum problems. That would be the number one concern, I would say.
Earlier, we spoke to Will Billy about a stretched frenum. He's specifying he meant a genital.
Yes. Okay.
So the advice basically the same. It's a pretty easy stretch.
Yeah, it's generally pretty easy to stretch. If you pull on the jewelry, if you can see almost a gap or it seems like it's loose enough, you're probably okay to go up to the next size. Sometimes it's several months, sometimes it's several weeks. But yeah, let it fully heal up, probably 3 months minimum before you stretch.
All right. A few more questions. We're winding down now, but we're going to hit these last few questions before we go. Lane asks, how will snakebite piercings affect my teeth and gum health?
It totally depends on the jewelry you're wearing and the placement of the actual piercing. Snake bites, we're talking about lip piercings here. If they're really low on the lips, they're going to be rubbing up against the gums. You can get gum erosion, teeth can fall out. You can do some serious damage. Now, if the piercings are up higher, closer to the lip line, and you downsize to shorter posts, that minimizes teeth and gum damage. Now, there's always a chance that the bead could come undone, unthreaded, or threadless comes out, and you bite down on it. That will do damage to your teeth. So if you're really, really concerned, oral piercings aren't the best option, but if you keep your eye on it, it really shouldn't be too bad.
Volcan asks, after 3 weeks, my earlobe piercings feel great. No pain, no swelling, no nothing. Is it okay to change the piercing, or should I wait the 6 weeks you said in your video?
6 to 8 weeks minimum before you change them. Again, it's going to feel healed, but that tubus scar tissue is so thin, it's easy to rip and tear, and that's what we're concerned about.
We've got a 6 gauge. Can we upsize it after 2 weeks?
No,
too soon.
Generally 6 to 8 weeks for the minimum of the stretching of your piercings too, because when you're stretching your piercings, like your skin creates these little tiny gaps in here, and it's almost like a brick wall where it's like it needs to kind of refill with all that tissue. Now, if you go too fast, you create a huge line of scar tissue. Those are those micro tears, which make it extremely tough to stretch in the future. And you don't want that scar tissue. Nice, slow, gradual stretch. That's the key.
This is an interesting question. It's kind of specific, but you might be able to have a more general answer. Ellen asks about navel piercings and pole dancing fitness, how best to protect it. So is there a way to like tape or down or protect a piercing, or does that usually not work?
I don't know how pole dancing would truly hurt the piercing. I don't know if it's
they're vertically against the pole.
I'm more concerned about the germs and the bacteria. If someone's like other people are touching, you're rubbing a fresh piercing against there.
Yeah.
If that's the case, you might want to look at a Tegaderm patch, which is like a waterproof Band-Aid you could put over the top that might kind of protect it. You could always put a piece of gauze and tape over the top of that if it's a fresh piercing. But I don't know if it would necessarily cause damage. You have to listen to your body. Your body will tell you if you're hurting it. If it's real sore when you're done, it's probably not the best idea. But it's an open wound for a month, and just keep that in mind too.
Valeria is a piercer and wants to know the information on a straight bar versus a curved one. So what, in a general sense, when would you use one over the other?
When you are going perpendicular or curving through tissue. For example, a nipple piercing, the nipple protrudes out through the body, so therefore you can do a straight bar and it's going to sit naturally. You could technically do a straight bar in a belly button piercing, but you generally want the ball to come back out so it's visible. That's why we use the curved bar inside the navel piercing. Now, an eyebrow piercing, you have seen some people heal them with straight piercings where if they have a loose enough skin, but a lot of times we need to almost get perpendicular to the skin, and the curved barbell is what's going to make it as perpendicular as possible. So that's what determines for me whether I use a straight or a curved barbell, is how perpendicular I can make that piercing look. I think the only true exception for that would be a genital frenulum piercing, where I almost always use a straight bar instead of the curve.
Okay,
great question.
And we have time for one last question. We're going to
Sure.
take this one from Ash Black, asking, how would I go about stretching my earlobes? I've had normal earlobe piercings for 7 years now, and I just have no clue where to start. How do we begin that journey?
A proper stretch should never, ever hurt. It's a real slow process. I don't know if you have a whole collection of earrings, but if you look through your earrings, some posts are thicker, some are a little bit thinner. Go to your thickest post, wear those for maybe a week or two. Then you can go into a body piercing studio and talk to your piercer, and they're going to be able to size up what size those earrings are, and they'll suggest the next size up for you. A lot of times you want to give it 6 to 8 weeks minimum between each stretch. Sometimes you can stretch yourself, do it in the shower, because the hot water softens up the tissues. Otherwise, sometimes you can go to your piercer, and your piercer will stretch for you. Some piercers are real quick about stretching. If they're going to say, yeah, I'll slam you right up there, we can double stretch, they're going to do damage to your ears. That's the wrong piercer. A proper piercer will tell you it shouldn't hurt, and it's a real slow, gradual stretch. Generally, like I said, 6 to 8 weeks between each stretch. So if you want to go up to like a 0 gauge, which is probably equivalent to like a pinky size, it's going to take you almost a year to get to that size if you do it properly. All right. That's going to wind it up for today. Thanks for tuning in. Also want to say happy birthday to Jared. Hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thanks for all the wonderful questions. And tune in next week for more questions. And of course, keep putting holes in your body. See y'all in the next video.